Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this afternoon. I want to give just a few more minutes for people to get logged in. And so, if you will bear with me, we'll wait just a few minutes before we get started. For those of you who come to our virtual presentations often, you will notice I am in a new location today. So if there's a little more background noise, I do apologize for that. We're going to go ahead and wait another minute before we get started. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. I'm very excited about today's presentation. Okay, so just because I want to respect everyone's time, we've waited 2 minutes. Hopefully we'll have more people joining in with us here shortly. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will be turning off my video just so that we can hopefully limit any interruptions during the presentation and that it will help for it to go smoothly. We've found that it helps to stop sharing our video. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then we will get started. Okay. Hey, so today we are going to be discussing self-care, and I really enjoyed this presentation. I hope you will as well. A lot of the presentations that we do talk about self-care at least a little bit, and so it was fun putting together a full self-care presentation. My name is Kayla Rogers, for those of you who may be new to this presentation, and I work as an education and outreach coordinator for the Women's Fund. So a little bit about the Women's Fund. We're a nonprofit in Houston that is dedicated to providing Houston area women and girls with the tools that they need to be advocates for their health. And we do this through focus seminars like today's presentation, curriculum-based classes, and publications. So at this moment, we are not fully in the office. Most of us are working remotely. So we do have free PDF versions of our publications on our website. And the link is here below, as well as the QR code. If you are interested in receiving physical copies of any of our publications, you can go to our website and fill out a publication request form, and then we will fill that form as early as we can. So we have a lot of really great publications. I definitely encourage you to go to our website and check those out. Our agenda for today, I'm going to be defining self-care. You know, there are a lot of different definitions out there, so I'm going to share a few of my favorites. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why self-care matters, why we should, think of self-care as something that is important. We're going to dive into the types of self-care, and then we'll talk about creating a self-care plan as well. And then at the very end of the presentation, I do have a 5-minute meditation video. So I'm hoping that I won't run over my time, but if I do, I really hope that you will choose to stick around for that video because it is really great. At the bottom of my screen, there is a little response bubble. And anytime you see that on a slide, that means that I am looking for your participation. So I will be asking you questions, and I would like for you to respond to me in the chat. I ask that everyone keep their mics muted so that we can limit the number of interruptions during this presentation. So if you do have a question at any point, or you want to answer a question that I am asking, definitely feel free to use the chat. I will have some colleagues looking at the chat as well. And so maybe they will answer your question, but if they don't get to your question, I will answer questions at the end of the presentation. So the objectives for this session, I hope that by the time we finish, you are able to discuss the benefits of self-care. You will be able to name the 5 types of self-care that we are going to talk about, and you'll be able to identify at least one new tip or suggestion to incorporate into your plan. So I really want you to take away at least one thing that you are going to work on or add to a current plan or add to a new plan if you don't have a plan for taking care of yourself and managing your self-care. Also, throughout this presentation, I do have slides of some quotes pertaining to self-care that I felt were really awesome or that resonated with me and that I felt were definitely worth sharing. So this first one is from Maya Angelou, and it's, "As you grow older, you will discover that you have 2 hands, one for helping yourself, the other for helping others." And this really resonated with me. And when I read it, it just made so much sense. And even though it made so much sense, I had to kind of assess myself. And I realized that there are so many times in my life that I was dedicating both of my hands to helping others, and I wasn't leaving a hand for myself. And that really took a toll on me. So I feel like that's common, especially with women. We like to help out as much as we can, but it is so important that we are also taking care of and helping ourselves so that we continue to help others. Okay. All right, jumping into this presentation, the very first question that I have for you is, what comes to mind when you hear the words self-care? Maybe it's you see the word self-care online, or someone, you know, one of your friends says, "I'm going to practice some self-care today." What comes to mind when you hear the words self-care? Okay, taking time to do an activity just for yourself, exercise, eating right. Okay, these are great answers. Massage, yoga, facial. Okay, yeah, these are awesome answers. Me time. Me time, that's so important. A bath or listening to music. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you all for participating. Okay, so maybe you think of a facial. I saw that pop up. Facials are very relaxing. It's so nice to just lay and let someone work on your face, and you know that after the facial, your skin is going to be glowing and you'll be feeling relaxed. So maybe that's what you think of. It could also be a home facial, right? Or a manicure, getting your nails done, having your nails looking all cute. Maybe that's self-care for you. Maybe you think of a massage, working out that tension in your body, taking care of yourself in that way. Maybe you're like some of my friends, and self-care for you is retail therapy. And even though I don't use retail therapy a lot, when I do, it does tend to be at Target. So I felt that this image was really appropriate. But maybe it's going out and buying nice things for yourself. Maybe it's a bath. Someone mentioned a bath being what they think of when they hear self-care. Taking a nice relaxing bath, using bath bombs or bath salts or bubbles to help you kind of unwind. Okay, these are all forms of self-care, but they are not the only things that we can do to practice self-care. Okay. So before I get into the definitions of what self-care is, I want to take a minute to talk about what self-care is not. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions around self-care, and so I want to address some things. The first is self-care is not a luxury, okay? I will repeat that. Self-care is not a luxury. We need to stop seeing it that way. Self-care should be considered a priority. It's not just for people who have a bunch of extra time or who have a lot of money to spend on, pampering themselves. It's not a luxury. Self-care does not have to be expensive, and it should be prioritized by everyone. Self-care is not selfish, okay? It is not selfish to practice self-care. Instead, we should think about it as looking after yourself so that you can best provide for yourself and for others. So don't let people make you think that taking time for yourself is selfish, because it is not. And finally, self-care is not about creating an emergency response plan when stress becomes overwhelming. Okay? Instead, it's about creating behaviors and healthy habits that you practice on a regular basis to nourish yourself. So we've talked about this in previous presentations when it comes to stress management and the importance of having those tools or those techniques down and mastered, if you want to say, before you need them, so that when you need them, they are natural to you and it's not you having to learn how to incorporate something into your life. The same goes with self-care. You want to have that plan already created and those techniques already fine-tuned so that when life does become overwhelming, you can implement those things instead of having to come up with a plan on the spot. So when you do look at what self-care is, there are many, many, many different definitions for self-care. It can mean something different for everyone, but two of the definitions I came across that I liked a lot were self-care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. And I really liked this one for that word preserve. A lot of times when we think about taking care of our health, it's, well, how can I improve my health? How can I lose weight to improve my blood pressure or to manage my diabetes? But we need to start thinking about it as self-care as a way to help preserve our health. What can we do to keep ourselves healthy? And then the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. So both of these definitions have that word action or active, and it's really about what are you doing to help preserve your health and your well-being. That is the definitions that we are going to be using for self-care. So why is self-care even important? Why do we need to practice self-care? Well, women wear many hats. 24% of US moms are single mothers. In 2017, 57% of all US women participated in the labor force. And in 2016, 56% of US college students were women. And these are just three of the hats that we wear, right? We're also wives, mothers, daughters, sisters, friends. And a lot of the times we're wearing more than one hat at work at once. We're wearing multiple hats at once. And each of these roles can take a toll on our bodies, on our mental health, on our emotional health. And so it's important that we practice self-care so that we are taking care of ourselves in all these stressful roles and hats that we wear. So taking good care of your body, mind, and soul each day by incorporating self-care into your daily routine can help you with being less stressed. We know that stress can lead to some serious health issues, so self-care is important because it can help reduce those feelings of stress. Also, it can help with staying healthy. Regular physical activity and healthy diet, which are things that you can do to practice self-care, can help to prevent or manage chronic diseases such as heart disease, hypertension and diabetes, as well as reduce feelings of anxiety and depression. And self-care can also help with being resilient. Self-care is actually a vital for building resilience towards those inevitable stressful situations that are going to pop up in life. So, when you're taking the steps to care for your mind and your body, you'll be better equipped to live your best life. Okay? It is important that we assess how we are caring for ourselves in several different domains so that we can ensure we are caring for our mind, our body, and our spirit. So, total self care. Now, when you start looking into self care, depending on where you look, there may be 5 types of self care or 8 types of self care, but these are the 5 that I consistently came across during my research, and they are the 5 that we are going to talk about here today. So, those are physical, social, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Physical self care involves movement of the body, health, nutrition, sleep, rest, and physical touch. There is a strong connection between your body and your mind. So when you care for your body, you'll also think and feel better. So some examples of physical self-care could be going for a walk. Maybe you go for a walk around your neighborhood or you go for a walk at the track. I know some people who like to go for walks around malls or shopping centers, right? Maybe it's eating a healthy, or not maybe, another example is eating a healthy and nutritious meal. So providing your body with the nutrients that it needs, that's a way to practice physical self-care. Getting enough sleep. We talked about sleep and the importance of sleep in our previous presentation. So if you haven't seen that, I really encourage that you go and watch it. Sleep is so vital for our health and our well-being. So making sure that you're getting enough sleep and that you're getting good sleep. Relaxing in a bath. So allowing your body to unwind and kind of untense from the day, maybe by relaxing in a bath. That's a way to practice physical self-care. And going to the doctor and the dentist. So making sure that you are going in for those regular checkups to make sure that everything is going well, so that you know you are taking care of your body. If you would like to assess, how am I doing with physical self-care? There are some questions that you can ask yourself. The first is, are you getting adequate sleep? Again, sleep is so vital for our health. And it's not just about, oh, I went to bed and I was in bed for 8 hours. Well, were you sleeping during those 8 hours? Did you experience any insomnia? Were you getting good sleep? Not just did you get the 8 hours, but were they good 8 hours? Is your diet fueling your body? Are you eating things that are nurturing your body, or are you eating things that are making you feel fatigued and sluggish? How is your nutrition impacting your body? Are you taking charge of your health? Are you taking the initiative to set up those maintenance appointments or those regular doctor's appointments? Are you taking that first step to increase your physical activity or to improve your diet? How are you taking charge of your health? And the last question, are you getting enough exercise? Are you moving your body enough throughout the day? The next type of self-care that we're going to focus on is social self-care. And this involves having a supportive and trusting group or network of relationships around you. So socialization and close connections are key to self-care, but it can be really difficult to give our relationships the time that they deserve when we get really busy or we're overly stressed. And so it's very important that we are prioritizing the relationships that we find really important. So examples of practicing social self-care would be belonging to groups outside of work. We spend a lot of time with our families or the people that we live with, and we also spend a lot of time with our coworkers. But outside of those relationships, do you belong to any other groups? Um, what other friends do you have? Are you meeting new people? Are you putting yourself out there and allowing the opportunity for your network to expand? And are you spending time to maintain the relationships that you have? So some questions that you could ask yourself for assessment are you getting enough face-to-face time with your friends? And this one, we might have to tweak a little bit since a lot of us are practicing social distancing and we are staying at home a lot more. So maybe it's our new face-to-face time in this moment is FaceTiming or Zooming or Skyping. But are you getting those moments with your friends? And the next question is, what are you doing to nurture your relationships with friends and family? How are you ensuring that you're not only maintaining those important relationships, but that they are flourishing? The third type of self-care we're going to focus on is mental or psychological. And this involves learning new things, applying consequential thinking, practicing mindfulness, and creativity. So the way that you think and the things that you're filling your mind with will greatly influence your psychological well-being. Mental self-care includes doing things that keep your mind sharp. So this would be maybe journaling, maybe reading a book, or learning a new skill. Okay, so allowing yourself to learn new things, maybe through reading or learning a new skill, or even journaling, practicing mindfulness with journaling. So some questions you could ask yourself are you making enough time for activities that mentally stimulate you? In the free time that you have, what are you doing with that time? Are you just kind of hanging out? Not saying that that's always a bad thing, but are you allowing yourself opportunities to do activities? Maybe it's crossword puzzles or learning a new language or a new skill, something that mentally stimulates you. And then, are you doing proactive things to help you stay mentally healthy? Okay? What are you doing to ensure that you are taking care of your mental health? Are you speaking to someone? Maybe it's a therapist or a counselor, or if you're religious, maybe it's someone from your church. Maybe it's journaling is how you're practicing or taking care of your mental health. Maybe it's exercise because you notice that you tend to have better mental health when you are exercising. Whatever it may be, what are you doing to make sure that you are taking care of your mental health? The next is spiritual self-care. And this involves the beliefs and values that are important to you and guide your life. A lot of times when we hear the word spiritual, our mind will automatically go to religion, but nurturing your spirit does not have to involve religion. It can involve anything that helps you develop a deeper sense of meaning, understanding, or connection with the universe. So some examples could be meditating, having some quiet time, allowing yourself to be mindful and in the moment, maybe reflective journaling, or maybe volunteering. So some questions you could ask yourself are what questions do you ask yourself about your life and experience? So that would be with reflective journaling. Is that something that you could do is what questions am I asking myself? What am I looking back on? What experiences am I focusing on? And reflecting, how did I feel in those moments? What have I learned? So ask yourself what questions you're asking yourself. And then are you engaging in spiritual practices that you find fulfilling? Are the things that you are doing fulfilling you spiritually? Or do you feel like you're lacking or that you need to be seeking out something more? And the final is emotional self-care. And this involves enhancing literacy, navigating emotions, increasing empathy, managing stress effectively, and developing compassion for self and others. Okay. So emotional self-care may include activities that help you acknowledge and express your feelings on a regular basis. And this could be gratitude journaling, taking a little time, maybe at the end of the day or the end of the week, to jot down some of the things that you are grateful for in your life, or maybe some of the things that brought you joy throughout the day. It could be setting boundaries, and we're going to talk about setting boundaries a little bit later, but setting boundaries is so important for our emotional health and self-care. And then reflecting on feelings. So questions would be, do you have healthy ways to process your emotions? First, you have to determine, how am I currently processing my emotions? And am I doing so in a healthy way or an unhealthy way? And if it's unhealthy, what are some healthy ways or some things that I could change so that I am processing my emotions better? Then do you incorporate activities into your life that help you feel recharged? So what do you do currently that helps you to feel recharged, re-energized? So I want to hear from you in the comment or in the chat. What are you doing, or how many of you have a self-care plan? So if you have a self-care plan, let me know in the chat. Or if you don't have a plan yet, you can definitely let me know that as well. I will be honest, I didn't have a plan until recently, and I am still working on developing that plan. But it was helpful for me to at least acknowledge that I didn't have one. Okay, so I'm not alone. We have someone else who doesn't have a plan. Okay, exercise every day, eat healthy, still working on self-talk. Okay, great. Okay, someone else who doesn't quite yet have a plan but wants to start one. That's awesome. Okay, thank you. Okay, so with self-care plans, I will say that they are not one size fits all. So just because something works well for your sister or your friend doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to help you. And second, you want to assess which areas of your life need more attention in this moment. And I say in this moment because your self-care plan will have to be reassessed often based on things that are just happening in life. Things change. And so maybe at this moment, you may need to be focusing more on your emotional self-care part of your plan, but maybe in a couple of months, it's that social self-care that you need to focus more on. So we'll have to assess which areas need more attention at this moment, but it is reassessing is also important. And as you go on, changing up your plan so that it is working the best for you at that time. I also want to say, when you're developing a plan, do not overwhelm yourself, especially for those who don't really have a plan right now. Thinking about all of the things that you want to do, or that you want to start incorporating into a plan, can seem overwhelming. So it's important to maybe just start with one thing and get that one thing, and then add on from there and add on from there. But you definitely don't have to tackle it all right away. It's important that we are consistent. I would rather you tackle, something small and then add on to that and be consistent with your plan, because remember, practicing self-care is not just something that you do once, it's something that you do on a regular basis. And so I would rather you be consistent with that so that you reap the most benefits instead of trying to take on too much and then just giving up everything, if that makes sense. Okay. So the next quote is from Michelle Obama, and it says, "To be a good parent, you need to take care of yourself so that you can have the physical and emotional energy to take care of your family." And I put this one here because we're now going to be talking about barriers to self-care. So some of the barriers to self-care include busy schedules, which could include stressful jobs or family duties. People saying, I just have to take care of so many other things with work or with my family that I just really don't have the time to practice self-care. And then, so they don't put it into their schedule. Technology is another. Technology can take up a lot more time than we intend for it to if we allow it to. So I don't know about you, but there have been many times that I will get on Facebook and the next thing I know, I look up and 30 minutes has gone by. And I think, how did I spend so much time on Facebook? And, that adds up. So then at the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, man, I could have spent that time doing something better. Maybe it's practicing self-care, but instead I was on Facebook. And another barrier is guilt. So sometimes because of those busy schedules that we have or the obligations that we feel like we feel guilty when we practice self-care. So therefore we just don't practice it. I want to hear from you in the chat. What are some of your barriers to practicing self-care? Okay, job and family. Yes. Getting in a rut, forgetting to try new things. Ooh, time, yes. Finding time with a toddler home all day. Yeah, so it seems like time and family commitments are some of the biggest barriers for us. Saying no to helping others. Ooh, yes, we are going to talk about that. Okay, these are awesome responses. These are all definitely barriers to practicing self-care. Okay, so we are going to go over each of these tips or suggestions, but just a little overview. So when you're creating a plan, these are the things that I would like you to think about focusing on. So we have sleep, nutrition, physical activity, setting boundaries, getting away, and scheduling time. So sleep, again, is very important to our health and well-being, and we need to prioritize sleep. When we get busy, sleep is one of the first things to go. We cut back on our sleep so that we can make more time for other things that we want to accomplish. But sometimes, cutting back on sleep doesn't always make us the most productive anyways. So why not take those, 30 minutes or an hour that you're cutting out of your sleep, put them back into your schedule. Sleep has a huge effect on how you feel emotionally and physically, and lack of sleep can lead to some serious health issues. We went into more depth in our previous presentation, but these issues could include heart disease, kidney disease, hypertension, diabetes, stroke, obesity, and depression. So we want to make sure that we're prioritizing sleep. If you're not sure how much sleep is recommended for you, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends this kind of sleep schedule. So for younger kids, they will need more sleep throughout the day. For adults, 18 to 60, it's 7 or more hours. 61 to 64, 7 to 9. And 65 plus is 7 to 8. So it's a safe bet to say 8 hours of sleep each night for adults. Okay. If you're having difficulty getting sleep, so if you know that Sleep is a part of that physical self-care. And if that's what you're focusing on in your plan and you've assessed that you really need to work there, and sleep is one of the things that you want to target, if you're having difficulty getting good sleep, here are some tips. So following a sleep schedule, remembering that we want to go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on weekends and holidays. Having a quiet hour before bed to kind of relax and unwind. Avoiding the following before bed, so large meals that can lead to things like indigestion and heartburn, caffeine that can stay in the system and keep you awake, and also alcohol. And then spending time outside is very important to help with keeping your circadian rhythms, those sleep, the environmental cues, yes, on track. Being active during the day, so making sure that you are using some energy throughout the day. Create inviting and comfortable room environment, so making sure that your room is cool and you have a nice, quiet, dark space for sleep. And then relaxing before bed, not spending time on your phone. That's going to give that artificial light. Maybe it's reading or listening to relaxing music. Maybe it's taking that warm bath, but kind of giving yourself a time to wind down at the end of the night. Our next tip focuses on nutrition. So the food that we eat can be helpful or hurtful to our health. Okay? So the food we eat has the potential to help keep us healthy, or it can lead to things like diabetes or obesity, right? So we want to make sure that we are eating foods that are nutritious and are nourishing our bodies and giving us, the vitamins and the nutrients that we need to stay healthy. And another tip here would be cook meals at home. I know that it can be very easy to just stop and get fast food when you're feeling very stressed or you're on a time crunch, or maybe your kids just are really wanting fast food, and cooking at home can take a lot of time and energy. But cooking meals at home, you know what's going into your food. And sometimes I find cooking to be relaxing and even fun, and I enjoy it. It allows me to kind of take a break from what's going on in my day and just focus on that task at hand. And I know that I am feeding myself good foods, and it can be fun. I know when I was younger, my mom would let us help in the kitchen, and that was always fun. So if it's a time thing, maybe if you have children, allowing them to help, because that encourages them to want to cook more at home and eat more at home. So fast food may be easy, but these meals usually aren't sufficient when it comes to feeding your body the right kinds of calories and nutrients. Okay. So if you don't know, what kinds of foods you should be eating, how much of each food you should be eating, you can visit the MyPlate website. This, talks about 5 food groups that are building blocks for a healthy diet. And here are the recommendations, the daily recommendations based on your age for these food groups. A cool thing about their website is you can actually go in and put in your information. So your age, your sex, your height, your weight, and you can submit that. It's really quick, and then they can give you the recommended number of calories that you should be consuming per day. But they also ask about your activity level as well. And then you can use their website to find really nutritious dishes. I think one of the hardest things for me about eating healthy is that I find myself eating the same things over and over and over, because I don't know that many recipes that are super, super healthy. And so it's really nice to go to their website and find a lot of new recipes that I can try that I know are going to be good for me, and they're new, so I'm not constantly eating the same things. So if you would like to visit their website, I've included the QR code. I've also included a QR code for our Which Way guide, which is our nutrition and healthy living publication. And so this has a lot of really great tips for making sure that you are eating healthy, not just for yourself, but also for your family. So the QR codes for both of those are listed here if you are interested. You can also visit our website, thewomensfund.org, and find this publication as well. The next tip is around physical activity. So daily exercise can boost mood, reduce feelings of stress and anxiety, and lower your risk for chronic diseases. It's important that you create a routine that works for you, something that you're going to be able to keep up with. And maybe trying new things is something that you really like. If you kind of get burnt out on an exercise after a couple of weeks, switch it up and try something new. Maybe it's going for a run, but maybe you don't like running. So maybe it's dancing or going for a bike ride, weightlifting, yoga, swimming. There are so many things that you can do to be physically active. So find something that works for your routine and that you really enjoy doing, because then you're going to be more likely to do it. Here are some physical activity recommendations. So for adults, it's at least 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity activities such as brisk walk, and at least 2 days a week of activities that include strengthening the muscles. And for 65 and older, it's those same recommendations, but then also adding in activities to improve balance. So if you're wondering how much activity you should be getting, it's 150 minutes per week. And there's a QR code if you're interested in visiting this link for more information. So next we're going to talk about boundaries. I mentioned this earlier, but setting boundaries in your professional and personal life is so important to your emotional health and practicing your self-care. Sometimes it can be really hard to say no to people, especially people that we really care about, or even in your job. Depending on who is asking you, you may have trouble saying no. But it's important that we establish boundaries for ourselves and that we let others know what those boundaries are so that we're not overstressing ourselves or burning ourselves out. So the advantages of setting healthy boundaries include good mental health, good emotional health, developed autonomy, developed identity, avoidance of burnout, and influence of others' behaviors. And setting boundaries is important, and if you don't know how to do so, the first step is to define. So identify the boundary, what it is that you want to set. And the next step would be communicate. So you need to communicate that boundary with whomever it is that you feel needs to know about it. Okay? You want to keep it simple. You don't want to over-explain. You don't have to give someone a million reasons as to why you're setting this boundary. Just let them know, why it's important to you and why you would like them to respect it. And then set consequences. So make sure that you're setting a consequence that you are willing to follow through on. Because if you set a consequence and they don't respect that boundary, but you don't follow up on that consequence, then they're just going to keep not respecting your boundaries. So setting boundaries, sometimes saying no is really important for taking care of ourselves. Okay. And this one I thought was really cute, Anne Lamott, and it's almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. And that goes with our next tip, getting away. Okay. Getting away is great for allowing yourself time to kind of unwind, take your mind off of maybe all the things that you have to do for work, and allowing yourself time to just really relax and do things that you enjoy. So self-care trips allow you the opportunity to disconnect, to relax, and to rejuvenate. And when I say trip or getting away, it doesn't have to mean going on an expensive vacation. You could literally just drive to the next town over and explore, or maybe you just get out of your house, you go outside in the backyard, or just allowing yourself an opportunity to kind of unplug even if it's only for a couple of hours. Okay. And spending time outside is so great. It can help you to reduce stress and to be more mindful. So, spending time outside, maybe while you're there, going for a hike or a walk, something to just kind of rejuvenate you. The last tip I have is scheduling time. And I feel like this is probably the most important since most of you in the chat said that time was the biggest issue for you as far as self-care goes. So setting aside time for self-care and getting organized. So getting organized, when you are more organized and you have things together, you spend less wasted time trying to find the things that you need. Okay? Also getting organized by consider buying a planner and planning out your day and including some time for yourself within that planner. You really have to create the time to practice self-care because a lot of the times it's not just going to pop up. You have to be very intentional with how you're spending your time and making sure that you are getting that me time. And again, it is not selfish, it is a priority. Okay? So do things that you enjoy and spend time with yourself. Really get to know yourself, what you're needing, and just take the time to do something nice for yourself. So this is that 5-minute meditation. I know that I am like we're going to run over a few minutes, but I do hope that you stick around for this because it is really fabulous.
Hey there, and thanks for gifting yourself these next few minutes. It's important to remember that you're a priority, and allowing yourself even just a few short minutes of intentional reflection can really have a positive impact on the rest of your day. So let's use these next few minutes to come back to center and set an intention for the rest of your day. Move into a comfortable position, whether you're seated at your desk at work or laying on the couch at home, and gently close your eyes and shift all of your attention onto your breathing, taking slower, deeper breaths than you've taken all day so far. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and slowly letting it out through your mouth. And continuing to breathe that way, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale and contract back in as you exhale. Tune into your body, noticing how it feels. Noticing if there's anything that it's trying to tell you. Notice any place of tension or tightness in your body. Give those areas permission to relax, sending love into those areas. Thank your body for taking such good care of you, and let it know that it's okay to rest and relax for these next few minutes. You may notice that your mind starts to wander off. That's okay. That's natural. Just notice it and bring your attention back to your body, using your breath as your anchor. Try to picture one thing that's happened today that's made you smile, or made you thankful or appreciative. And just let that feeling fill you up for a moment. Breathe that feeling in from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And allow yourself to smile if that feels natural. Now focus on something that you can do today, whether it's for yourself or for someone else, that will allow you to continue feeling this way. It could be something as small as deciding to go to bed early tonight so that you have time to finally read that book that's been on your bedside table, or the joy of getting dinner with a close friend. What's one little thing you can plan for your day to bring that intentional joy to it? Now just focus on that for a few minutes. Sit in that feeling of joy and peace. let's take a few more deep breaths together. A deep breath in, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale, and everything contract back in as you exhale. Again, an even deeper breath than the one before it. Holding that breath for a beat, and exhaling everything out. Last time, your deepest breath yet, sending that breath through your entire body. And exhale it out. And in your own time, slowly bring your awareness back to where you are. And thank yourself for taking these few minutes to just be intentional and kind to yourself. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and enjoy the rest of your day.
Wow. I know that is always so relaxing for me. And it is just a couple of minutes. So even if you're just taking a few minutes from your day to do something like that, it really, really can help. So just to review before I close out, I want you to remember that self-care is not selfish. We need to be prioritizing our self-care. The best way that you can help someone else is to first help yourself. Practicing regular self-care can help keep you healthy and to reduce your stress. So you want to be practicing this on a regular basis, not just in emergency situations. Find time and create a routine that works for you. Really work on creating that plan for yourself and adjusting it as needed. And try new things. You may find that when you try something new, it really works for you to kind of shake things up. So if there's something that you've been thinking about trying, try it. You know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least you can say that you tried. So I'm going to open up the chat right now. If anyone has any questions for me or comments, if you don't have any questions right now, but you think of any later after this presentation, you can feel free to email them at healtheducator@thewomensfund.org. The program staff has access to this email address, and so we will be able to answer your questions for you. And we have the survey link here, so we would really appreciate if you would give us some feedback. There's the link. There's also the QR code there. We want to know how we are doing, what you liked about the presentation, what you think we can improve on. We really appreciate your help with the surveys. So one of the questions that I'm seeing is it okay to take a nap during the day? I think if you're having problems with sleeping at night, I definitely would not take a nap during the day. But if you're not having problems, you know, limiting to a small cat nap is not a bad thing. Okay. So I just want to mention quickly our social media accounts. You can follow us on our social media. We update, you know, we post some really great content. We post reminders for these virtual presentations. And so these are our social media links. Our website is at the top, and then we have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then as far as upcoming events that we have, on the 24th, we will be discussing home and summer safety. On the 8th, we have work-life balance. The 15th, we have nutrition and shopping on a budget. And then on the 22nd, we have self-empowerment. So if you're interested in watching any of these presentations, you can go to our website, thewomensfund.org, and register for these events. I'm going to go back to the other slide just so people can jot down that email address or take a picture of that QR code. I believe our LinkedIn account is the Women's Fund Houston. Everyone who said thank you, you're very welcome. We are also looking forward to upcoming sessions. If there are sessions that you didn't get a chance to see, we do post our presentations on our YouTube channel and our Facebook, as well as our website. So if, I talked a lot about last week's sleep presentation during this presentation. So if you missed out on that or any of the other presentations that we've done and you would like to see them, you can definitely find those on our YouTube channel, our Facebook, or our website. All right. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead